What's up, guys? Welcome to the Outer Nexus. Tonight, we are going to go over some pretty crazy stuff. I'm just going to start out with this one article here. Let me see something. We're just going to start out with this, but we're not going to get into too much of it. A Republican effort to prevent states from enforcing their own AI regulations cleared a key procedural hurdle on Saturday. The rule, as reportedly rewritten by Senate Commerce Chair Ted Cruz in an attempt to comply with budgetary rules, would withhold federal broadband funding from states if they try to enforce AI regulations in the next 10 years. And the rewrite seems to have passed muster, with the Senate parliamentarian now ruling that the provision is not subject to the so-called Byrd Rule, so it can be included in the Republicans' one big beautiful bill and passed with a simple majority without potentially getting blocked by a filibuster, without requiring support from Senate Democrats. However, it's not clear how many Republicans will support the moratorium. For example, Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee recently said, "We do not need a moratorium that would prohibit our states from stepping up and protecting citizens in their state." And while the House of Representatives already passed a version of the bill that included a moratorium and AI regulation, far-right Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene subsequently declared that she is adamantly opposed to the provision and feels it's a violation of states' rights, and said it needs to be stripped out of the Senate. House Speaker Mike Johnson defended the moratorium by saying it had Donald Trump's supports and arguing, "We have to be careful not to have 50 different states regulating AI because it has national security implications," right? In a recent report, Americans for Responsible Innovation, an advocacy group for AI regulation, wrote that the proposal's broad language could potentially sweep away a wide range of public interest state legislation regulating AI and other algorithmic-based technologies, creating a regulatory vacuum across multiple technology policy domains without offering federal alternatives to replace the limited state-level guardrails. A number of states do seem to be taking steps towards AI regulation. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a high-profile AI safety bill last year, while signing a number of less controversial regulations around issues like privacy and deepfakes. In New York, an AI safety bill passed state lawmakers is awaiting Governor Kathy Hochul's signature, and Utah has passed its own regulations around AI transparency. So that's important to take all that in as we get into these subjects, that this is, they have basically deregulated AI for the next 10 years, which is crazy. In my opinion, it's crazy, but I guess there is some, reasons for it. Either way, let's get into the real craziness.
Oh no, and but
Yeah.
it is part of the craziness.
Yeah.
I am 100% against a bill like that. And the reason it was enacted was because the people we're about to talk about in this next part right here,
Yeah.
it's in their favor.
Yeah.
That's 100% the reason.
Yeah. Okay, so let's check this out. So the U.S. Army appoints Palantir, Meta, OpenAI execs as lieutenant colonels, which is like, listen, like, I thought we had these conversations in science fiction novels about not doing this, like specifically this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I feel like this is like, all right, let's really get into this here. Okay, 4 senior executives at Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI have been formally appointed lieutenant colonels in the U.S. Army following the creation of a special unit created for rich big tech mavens seeking military leadership roles. On June 13th, the Army announced the creation of Detachment 201, otherwise known as the Executive Innovation Corps, which it describes as a new initiative designed to fuse cutting-edge tech expertise with military innovation. 4 wealthy executives from top tech companies were sworn in to the unit ahead of President Trump's heavily promoted military parade, which was itself sponsored by Palantir. The Army's top spokesman declared that Detachment 201 was being created to bring in tech innovation executive leaders to help the Army with the recruitment and subsequent training of tech-focused people. By bringing in private sector know-how into uniform, Detachment 201 is supercharging efforts like the Army Transformation Initiative, which aims to make the force leaner, smarter, and more lethal, the Army wrote in an official statement. General George and I are thrilled to welcome 4 brilliant minds from the tech sector to the U.S. Army. Today, we commissioned 4 exceptional individuals as lieutenant colonels in the Army's Detachment 201 Executive Innovation Corps. Man, I can't believe that's actually the name of it. Their unique skills will be instrumental in... Oh, man, I'm not doing that. Palantir is by far the S&P's 500's top performing stock of the year, thanks in large part to the gargantuan contracts it has raked in from the Trump administration. According to the company's founder, Alex Karp, Palantir is here to disrupt and, when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. Shares of the dystopian data firm, which is named after the all-seeing orb used by the evil wizard Saruman to surveil Middle-earth in The Lord of the Rings, skyrocketed to an all-time high following Israel's unprovoked assault on Iran. Elsewhere, Karp has eagerly embraced the model of disaster capitalism, remarking, "Bad times are very good for Palantir because we build products and are built for danger." In recent years, Palantir has come to dominate the Western information sphere and now enjoys unfettered access to the sensitive data of citizens and countries from the U.S. to the UK, with customers including the Department of Defense, CIA, NSA, FBI, ICE, and the Special Operations Command. Palantir has become a one-stop shop for weaponized AI-based data analysis. Amid the ruins of national security states' obsessive search for enemies overseas, Palantir built a reputation for being both user-friendly and slavishly obedient to the military establishment. If you do not feel comfortable supporting the legitimate efforts of America and its allies in the context of war, don't join Palantir, Karp declared. In an article published on the day that military officials revealed the creation of Detachment 201, Mumbai-born Palantir CTO Shyam Sankar revealed he was among the 4 members of the nation's business elite selected for a special corps meant to deploy their technical talents in the service of the U.S. government. That's kind of cringe using that. But anyway, later today, in the eve of the U.S. Army's 250th birthday, I will raise my right hand, take an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and commission as a lieutenant colonel in the Army's Reserve's newly formed Detachment 201 Executive Innovation Corps. He boasted. I wonder if he had to go through basic.
I've been wondering
I'm
that too.
wondering
as you've been
big
talking.
time. Yeah, I don't think they have.
And I'm also wondering, based on their where they're at, whether or not they have to put in 20 years to get retirement.
Yeah.
Not that they're worried about it. They're ultra rich, but I'm saying, I bet you people that just get in there also don't have to put in 20 years.
Yep, absolutely. He boasted. Sankar was joined by what he described as some of the most impressive minds from the world of technology. Kevin Weil, the chief product officer of OpenAI, Andrew Bosworth, the chief technology officer of Meta, and Bob McGrew, formerly the chief research officer of OpenAI and engineering director of Palantir Technologies, where I work as chief technology officer. The creation of the techie Poindexter Patrol was necessary, Sankar suggested, due to a geopolitical sea change in which wars in Europe and the Middle East, and above all, the threat of war in the Pacific, have focused the national mind and initiated a scramble for mobilization. Despite his obvious glee at being fast-tracked to military leadership, Sankar acknowledged it was an unusual arrangement. A decade ago, it would have been unthinkable for so many tech heavyweights to openly align with the U.S. military. Equally, it would have been out of character for the military to enlist the support of the nation's business elite, much less to create a special corps so that they could deploy their technical talents in service of the government. The Palantir executive pointed to exploding pagers and long-distance drone strikes from shipping containers as attacks which proved that technology once again has changed the battlefield, and our military has to change with it. With their newly minted lieutenant colonels a world away, Palantir's corporate and officer corps will not be rallying the troops for the next war, but safely ensconced behind their digital curtain, they'll be watching and talking the next generation of nerds into signing up to. This is pretty crazy stuff. The only thing, well, I'm thinking about a whole bunch of stuff, but one of the main things that I'm thinking of, and it might be in these other articles that we get into, well, maybe not, but how does this evolve? Where does this evolve to? I mean, like it's so crazy, because here's let me lay out this scenario for you really quick. imagine Palantir has the capability, because of their AI systems and their surveillance systems, and they're the one-stop shop. They control like everything for everybody. Okay. What if Palantir, what if these executives, start targeting, what if they're able to target American civilians using their techniques, but through a series of, they can see the whole back end of all these systems.
Yeah.
So they would like, what if they're able to like orchestrate car crashes and shit with this? They create all these little points for, to kill people that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I mean, if you want to go onto that route,
Yeah.
I have no doubt that they could.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting into, like we just talked about with the Golden Dome or whatever.
Yeah.
We're starting to get into.
They brought up the Patriots. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, well, we're starting to get into Skynet territory.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it that way, but it's getting there. Like it's just moving forward.
Just, like that's what it is.
And it's scary in a lot of ways. And like you said, they see the back end.
Yeah.
So there's so much they can do with
it's like they're handing it all over, like everything.
And here's my big point on this. Well, I have a few, but here's one of them. Is this, in my opinion, is absolutely not how you should be handling this.
Yeah.
This is another one of those, where are we going to go get this technology? Well, Palantir has this technology. It's like, well, why don't we have this technology? I'm not saying steal it from Palantir, but I'm saying like, we're the U.S. government. We have spent so much money on our black budget.
Well, that's what's happening.
Huh?
That's what's happening.
No, I'm saying we've spent all this money on our black budget. So if, say we spend it on Palantir and Palantir developed all this technology, then the technology shouldn't be Palantir's.
Yeah.
It should belong to the U.S. government.
Well, see, and I think that's the deal with Palantir. I think that's the deal with Palantir, with Facebook, with, there's other ones, maybe even you could use Twitter as an example. These are dual use companies. I don't think there's any way that Palantir is actually like, I mean, it is this weird hybrid of a private corporation and part of the government, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at.
Problem. Yeah. Like it is a cyberpunk scenario.
Like if what you're talking about is saying that it is both of the things.
It is both of the things. Just like Google tries to do, all of the things.
Well, here's the thing. When we think about Google, a lot of time we're a contractor for the government. It's like you do X for us and we pay you for it.
Yeah.
It's not so much a you do X for us, you develop this, you can sell this to people, but at the same time we own the technology. Like it's a weird in between where it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it should just be, if we own the technology, then we own the technology and we don't need Palantir, in it at all. We just own that technology.
Yeah.
And it's, if we want to produce people that can produce the best, technologies out there, then we need a way to do that. We've been talking about, our shitty education system for a very long time. And it's like, if you want to be able to produce these people, and we do occasionally, it's not like we don't.
Yeah.
We should have tracks that push this.
Yeah.
And you're not even attempting to do that. You're just waiting for these people to pop out in the weeds. It's like, why don't you overhaul some of our systems to like I'm tired of this whole general education thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like you need to be good at absolutely, everything. It's like, no, if I want to do computers, my whole track, the whole way to the end should just be like math and computer sciences all the way down.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have to do too much English or whatever else it may be.
Yeah.
To get there. And that's what these, like they said, we want to compete with Israel, China, all these other, countries. It's like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. They're embracing this kind of stuff. And, with this AI deregulation, like it all comes down to, well, not all comes down, but there is this legitimate point that China isn't going to be regulating its AI.
No.
Other companies, other places are not going to be regulating their AI. And the fact is, Google and very likely Palantir are full of tech CEOs who want the AI gods. They want to build a massive quantum supercomputer with an AI god in it to manage everything. That's what they want.
And here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
They think, and to some degree, they might be able to.
Yeah.
But what they want is to build something like that, and then control it.
And that's that's what they want. They want to be able to control it. They're not going to be able to control it.
No, they want to be able to control this thing and be like, oh, look at the stock market. That's just a toy for money generation now.
At that point, But the thing is, it's like, but how do you grapple with that? Where if we don't deregulate AI, China's just going to deregulate AI. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. It's not that the 10-year moratorium to basically give them rights to not have to deal with each state opening. It's like each state has the right to do that, but it's not like it's everywhere. Every state isn't going to do that.
Yeah, every state isn't going to do that. I guess the issue is, this is kind of like another Patriot Act scenario where it's like
always is now.
This broad blanket statement, like we're going to regulate this whole thing. Or reverse, we're going to deregulate this whole thing and just see what happens. You know what I mean?
Well, and then the other thing that it goes with is it's, one of the points that I would make is like, we've been talking about all these, gray areas.
Yeah.
This is one of those gray areas.
Super gray.
And it needs regulation because they keep taking advantage of things that just there isn't a law for, because there's never been a need for a law for.
It's such an esoteric concept. It's never been thought of that way.
No, and it's we need laws to prevent these people. Again, most of it is just security. If we went onto the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we could be actually anonymous.
Yeah.
Which we should be.
Yeah.
It should just be, we go out there, and if a company wants our information, they have to really push for it, get us to sign for it, probably pay for it.
Yeah.
But no, they don't do any of that.
No.
And every app out there, even I hate to mention names, but McDonald's or whatever it may be, every time they, get one of those apps going, that's what it's for. The app is for to get your information so that they can sell it.
Yes.
They're selling your information constantly, and that's one of these rules that they're not, passing because it's in a gray area. No one's had to deal with all this information out there before.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this for quite a long time, and again, they're not getting there.
Yeah. So let's check out Inside Palantir. This article was just written a couple of days ago. Let's see this here. So, one of the most defining images of Trump's second inauguration was the tech overlords filing up to declare their allegiance. Perhaps this lineup was a demonstration that they wield great powers too. But in contrast to the loud presence of Zuckerberg, Musk, Pichai, and Bezos, there were a few notable figures who were absent from these festivities, but are no less significant. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. Thiel and Karp and their data analytics company Palantir have managed to fly under the radar a long time whilst pulling strings in Washington and playing a significant role in propelling Trump to a second presidency. Thiel, in fact, endorsed Trump even in 2016, donating to his campaign. This time around, Alex Karp donated to Trump's inauguration fund, giving him $1 million. Palantir's work in defense, surveillance, and warfare has enabled it to operate in the shadows, dealing directly or tangentially with sensitive state records. But more than that, the secrecy it maintains is a PR exercise to create a godlike mysticism and cult status around its work and leadership, along with being a PR strategy designed to keep us confused, making it hard to criticize and hold it accountable. But despite operating in the shadows, the company is far from obscure. It is entrenched in the US government, having bagged contracts across departments since the very start. In fact, it has received 113 million in federal contracts since Trump came into power a second time. On the surface, what Palantir's technologies do is data integration and analysis, but this description obscures the nature of its work given the use cases and context its technologies are deployed in. Palantir is a company currently enabling Israel's genocide of Gazans by supplying it intelligence and surveillance tools. It is a company that has helped ICE separate immigrant children from their families in the U.S. Now has a new deal with the Trump administration to provide real-time tracking of migrants. It is a company whose ex-employees are now found to be found working for the federal government inside Doge, mishandling sensitive federal databases. We know what bias this is angled in. And it's also a company handling one of the largest health databases in the world, the UK's National Health Service NHS records. Last week, I was introduced to a former Palantir employee called Palantiri. No, I'm kidding. Who has now turned critic, agitator, and educator, speaking out against the company. Juan Sebastian Pinto used to write about architecture. He went on to develop an interest in digital architecture, which is when he got fascinated by Palantir. In 2021, he joined the company as a content strategist. Eventually, he left Palantir for another job, but it was the use of Palantir's technologies by Israel and Gaza post October 7th attacks and subsequently in its proximity to the second Trump administration, aiding the targeting and deportation of immigrants that forced Juan to speak out. Juan's journey has been an interesting one. He used to draw kill chain diagrams that visualized Palantir's technologies, which includes iStar technology used in various conflicts and crackdowns around the world. He is now alarmed at finding such technologies being deployed a lot closer to home, like the immigration protests that have erupted in Los Angeles in the last few weeks. We spoke at length about his motivations behind joining Palantir, the company's founders, workplace conditions, and culture. Hang on, where was that? I just lost my spot. Workplace culture and problematic record, his disillusionment as a worker in the tech industry, and why he decided to speak out against Palantir now. Juan is now part of an anti-war movement in Denver, speaking out against the use of Palantir technologies by the state of Israel. They are demanding that Palantir cut all ties with Israel and end all contracts with entities that use Palantir software to violate human rights. During one of these protests, Pinto did a speech in front of the Palantir headquarters. He is writing about the misuse of AI technologies there at that link. Below is an extract from our conversation. I don't know if we're going to read this whole thing. But yeah, so I mean, this basically just gets into the fact that they are, they are going to use this technology, this advanced surveillance technology on us. I mean, they're using it on the immigrant situation right now. So they have, this foothold that we're just using it on the immigrants right now. But I mean, that's one president away from using it on the American populace.
That's been one of the big issues for a long time is, like with the FCC.
Yeah.
When we gave, regulations over to Comcast and all those big companies. And it's like, listen, guys, yes, we have the power to do things that we probably shouldn't have the power to do, but we're never going to misuse them.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these bills keep doing. They keep passing these laws or not enacting laws at all in these different areas where it's like, no, there should definitely be something there on the books to prevent you from doing this.
Yeah.
But there's not.
No.
And then the companies are just like, guys, don't worry about it. Or the government is like, hey, don't worry about it. We're not going to misuse this power.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to misuse.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of the time it's not immediate.
Yeah.
It's down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
Or there's a scare.
Yeah.
Oh man, something big. Something popped up.
Yeah.
Maybe we could use it a little bit, in this way that we probably shouldn't.
In a unique, novel way.
Yeah, and then it's inside the system a little too much, where it's like,
is set.
And then it's like, oh, we used it, and yes, there was American people picked up in the little, we didn't mean to. They were just overhead, really.
And then 2 years down the line after that, cops are just like, we've been doing this for 2 years now.
We've been doing this for 2 years. or there's something out there where a whistleblower comes out and they're like, oh no, they've been using this thing behind the scenes like a crazy person.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
And at this point, you should come to expect that. Here, let's check out this article here. OpenAI wins $200 million contract with U.S. military for war fighting. Program with the Defense Department is first under the startup's initiative to put AI to work in governments. The U.S. Department of Defense on Monday awarded OpenAI a $200 million contract to put generative artificial intelligence to work for the U.S. government. The San Francisco-based company will develop prototype frontier AI capabilities to address critical national security challenges in both warfighting and enterprise domains. So when are they just going to have the roll out the humanoid corporate soldiers?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Basically, prototype frontier AI capabilities. That's what that means.
I love the language too, because it's like they said they're going to put it to work for the U.S. military.
Yeah,
and then they're like both in warfighting and in enterprise domains. You know what enterprise domains is? Everywhere else.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. The program with the Defense Department is the first partnership under the startup's initiative to put AI to work in governments. According to OpenAI, the company plans to show how cutting-edge AI can vastly improve administrative operations, such as how service members get healthcare and also cyber defense. According to a blog post, that would be great if that was the real point. The startup claims that all use of AI for the military will be consistent with OpenAI usage guidelines, which are determined by OpenAI itself. They really need to change their name. They're not OpenAI. They're not some Linux open source freebie software on the internet. They are fully integrated with the military now.
No,
they are closed AI now.
Yeah.
Big tech companies are increasingly pitching their tools to the U.S. military, among them Meta and more predictably Palantir, the AI defense company founded by Peter Thiel. OpenAI and defense tech startup Anduril Industries late last year announced a partnership to develop and deploy AI solutions for security missions, blah, blah, blah. The alliance brings together OpenAI models and Anduril military tech platform to ramp up defenses against aerial drones and other unmanned aerial systems. Yeah. So it's snowballing this point. It's snowballing. They appoint let's just go through this. They deregulate AI for 10 years.
Yeah.
They appoint 4 tech CEOs as lieutenant colonels
who are the primary beneficiaries of the deregulation.
And then they give OpenAI $200 million contract.
Yeah.
Oh, and just by the way, a USAID official and 3 corporate executives plead guilty to decade-long bribery scheme involving more than $550 million in contracts. 2 companies admit criminal liability for bribery scheme and securities fraud. And that's the thing. It's like, it would be one thing if all of this money and all of this tech and innovation was like we knew it was going to something good. Yeah. But just from this USAID stuff alone, it's like, okay, we know it's misused.
Well, what really bothers me again is like we have been spending unheard of amounts of money on our black budget.
Yeah, and now it's going to be more.
And now it's probably going to be more.
Yeah.
But what do we like, because we need these companies so much that we're integrating them into our government and military.
Yeah.
What do we as the American people who have spent money on that black budget actually have to show for it?
Well, honestly, it should be enforced universal basic income from Palantir's profits. That's what it should. If they're going to listen, if Palantir's going to monitor all of it, if Palantir and Meta and OpenAI is going to monitor all of us and play mommy and daddy, then I want universal basic income. Simple as that. I mean, we paid for it all. We paid for all this stuff, and now it's getting integrated into the government.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it's going to be a weird, tenuous relationship that's going to probably end in some kind of weird peasant revolt, or an asteroid hits the planet,
or something like that.
Yeah. It's going to get weird.
It's going to get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. The future is looking weird.
It's looking grim.
Yeah.
It's looking like a cyberpunk dystopia.
Yeah. And I hate choosing security over freedom, but it seems like every chance that the government gets, they're like, security, let's beef those up. We want everybody to feel safe. It's like we're basically one of the safest countries in the world.
If I would feel totally safe if you gave me universal basic income.
Give me UBI.
Give me UBI, and I will feel the most safe.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where we're going to call it for this episode, unless you had something else.
I have one last thing.
Yeah.
And I specifically picked it out for this conversation.
Yes.
So I am going to put it in here.
Here we go.
So this is from President Eisenhower regarding the military-industrial complex. This was one of his final speeches to the people of the United States when he was leaving office.
Yeah.
He was a general before he was president, and this was his big beware before he left the public eye.
Yeah.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. So
I feel like you should not be able to have controls over things like this if you didn't swear an oath on your life to protect the U.S. Constitution and its people.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what they were trying to pull off.
I think that might have been what they were trying to pull with that.
Yeah.
But those tech CEOs are the most, like, literally sociopath individuals you could possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, that you do when you join, the military is you go through its system.
Yeah.
Like, you learn, the worth of your position. You learn the worth of yourself. You there's a lot in it. It
used to be like that,
and it still is to a degree. But it's all of those things where it's like you dedicated yourself to the protection of the United States.
Exactly.
And that is ingrained into you.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, well, you guys are lieutenant colonels now, and don't worry about all the prerequisites or none of that.
I feel like that just never works out well. Like it's basically nepotism.
Yeah.
It's not technically nepotism, but the effect is nepotism.
It is, because one of the things that popped into my head when this came out was, if this was around back in the day of, like, say 1970s, 1980s, maybe even a little before, George W. Bush.
Yeah.
We all know that he joined the military. This would be the way he would get in now.
Oh, yeah. You want more George W. Bushes? This is how you get more George W. Bushes.
Yeah.
Fumbling around in a fighter jet while he's president.
Yeah. All of hey guys, now there's a rich person backdoor to the military, and here you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really what it is, and this is my concern about it, is that the military is being used as basically a new caste system. Basically, because I think really what this is for all the security clearances.
Yeah.
I think that's really what that's for, is so that they have people in their companies with the right security clearances to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
I think they tried to pull off like, oh, they're making an oath, but in reality, it's about them getting the security clearance. It's about them bolstering up this new caste where, you're either part of it or you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's going to get weird.
Yeah. That's the thing. And it's going to be like that. It's either Ben Affleck or Justin Timberlake, that one movie where everybody's either part of the corporation or you're not. And the people who are, it's just like Brazil, you're just out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Please like and subscribe, guys. We'll see you next time.